The dust never settled on Epsilon 7. Daisung walked through the lower district of the mining colony, his boots crunching on the red sand that covered everything. He had been a security officer here for 5 years now, and he knew every corner of this place. The colony was home to dozens of different alien species, all trying to make money from the mines. Most days were peaceful. Some days were not. Daisung was different from the other security officers. When fights broke out, the others would rush in with weapons and force. Daisung preferred to talk first. The other officers laughed at him for this. They called him soft. But Daisung had learned long ago that violence always had a cost. Sometimes that cost was too high that he heard the noise before he saw anything. A scraping sound, metal against metal, coming from the ventilation shaft near the old storage building. Daisung stopped and listened. The sound came again. Something was hiding in there. He approached slowly, keeping his hand away from his weapon. Whatever was in there might be scared. Scared things could be dangerous. "I can hear you," Daisung said in a calm voice. "I'm not going to hurt you, but you need to come out." Silence. Then the scraping sound again, this time moving away from him. Daisung sighed. He pulled out his portable scanner and checked the vent. The thermal reading showed a small figure. Definitely alive. Definitely hiding. The heat signature looked like a Krauth. That was strange. The Krauth were a warrior species. They didn't hide. "I know you, Krauth," Daisung called out. "And I know you're young. If you're hiding, it means you're in trouble. Let me help you." For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, slowly, a face appeared at the vent opening. It was reptilian, covered in dark green scales. Yellow eyes stared at Daisung with a mixture of fear and suspicion. The face belonged to a young Krauth, barely more than a child by their standards. "Come on out," Daisung said gently. "I won't hurt you." The young Krauth crawled out of the vent, moving carefully. When he stood up, Daisung could see how thin he was. His scales were dull, and there were scars all over his body. Some were old, but some looked fresh. This child had been through something terrible. "What's your name?" Daisung asked. The young Krauth looked at him for a long time before answering. "Van," he said quietly. His voice was rough, like he hadn't spoken in days. "I'm Daisung. Are you hungry, Van?" Van nodded slowly. Daisung reached into his pack and pulled out a nutrition bar. He held it out. Van grabbed it and ate it so fast that Daisung worried he might choke. "When was the last time this kid had eaten? Why are you hiding?" Daisung asked. "Where's your clan pack?" Van's eyes went dark. "No clan pack. I am outcast." The word hit Daisung like a punch. He knew what it meant to be an outcast among the Krauth. It meant you were considered worthless. It meant your own people wanted you dead. But outcasts were usually adults who had committed terrible crimes. What could a child have done? "Why?" Daisung asked. Van looked away. His clawed hands clenched into fists. "I showed weakness. In my trial, I was supposed to kill the enemy I defeated, but he begged for his life. He said he had younglings. I let him live." Van's voice became bitter. "My clan leader said I dishonored our people, that I was too weak to be Krauth. They marked me as outcast and drove me away." Daisung felt anger rising in his chest. This child had shown mercy, and his people punished him for it. What kind of culture would do that? "So now you hide and run," Daisung said. "Other Krauth hunt me," Van explained. "To kill an outcast brings honor. I have survived 3 attacks, but I am getting weaker. Soon they will succeed." Daisung made a decision. It was probably against regulations. It might cause him trouble, but he couldn't leave this child to die in the streets. "Come with me," he said. "You can stay in my quarters, at least for tonight." Van stared at him like he had spoken in an alien language. "Why would you help me? You gain no honor from protecting weakness." "I don't care about honor the way your people do," Daisung said. And you're not weak. You're surviving. That takes strength. Ven didn't look convinced, but he followed Daesung anyway. What choice did he have? Daesung's quarters were small but clean. One room with a bed, a small kitchen area, and a bathroom. He gave Ven water and more food, then showed him where he could sleep on the floor with some spare blankets. That night, Daesung lay awake thinking. He had been like Ven once, in a way. Years ago, he had been a soldier. His commanders had given him orders to attack a village that might have been hiding enemy forces. But when Daesung got there, he saw only families, old people, children. He had refused the order. They had punished him for it, called him a coward, stripped him of his rank. But Daesung never regretted his choice. Those families had lived. That was what mattered. Looking at Ven now, huddled in the corner even in sleep, Daesung saw a kindred spirit. Someone who had chosen mercy and paid the price. Maybe he could help this young one understand that mercy was not weakness. Maybe he could teach him that real strength came from choosing to preserve life, not take it. In the morning, Ven woke up looking confused, as if he had forgotten where he was. When he saw Daesung, he tensed up. "Relax," Daesung said. "You're safe here." "Safe is temporary," Ven replied. "They will find me eventually." "Then we'll deal with that when it comes," Daesung said. He set down a plate of food. "For now, eat. You need to get your strength back." Ven ate slowly this time, watching Daesung with those strange yellow eyes. "Why do you do this?" he asked between bites. "You are human. I am Krauth. We are not friends. We are not family. You owe me nothing." Daesung sat down across from him. "Maybe that's exactly why I should help you. Because I don't owe you anything. Because it's the right thing to do. Not because I expect something in return." Ven shook his head. "I do not understand humans." "That's okay," Daesung said with a small smile. "You have time to learn." Outside, the colony was waking up. Soon Daesung would have to go to work. But for now, in this small room, a human and a young Krauth sat together. One had shown mercy and been cast out. The other had defended mercy and lost everything. Both were searching for a way to live in a universe that seemed to value violence above all else. Neither of them knew it yet, but their meeting would change more than just their own lives. It would challenge the beliefs of an entire warrior culture. It would force others to ask hard questions about what strength really meant. But that would come later. For now, there was just a human offering shelter, and a young alien learning that maybe, just maybe, kindness was not the same as weakness. 3 weeks passed. Ven stayed hidden in Daesung's quarters during the day, only coming out at night when fewer people were around. Daesung brought him food and water. He also brought him books and videos about human culture. Ven studied them with intense focus, trying to understand these strange beings who valued mercy. Slowly, Ven started to look healthier. His scales regained their shine. The fear in his eyes lessened, though it never fully went away. He was always watching the door, always ready to run. Daesung began teaching him practical skills. How to fix things. How to use the colony's computer systems. How to blend in with crowds. These were survival skills, but not the kind Ven had learned in his clan. His people had taught him to fight and kill. Daesung was teaching him to live and adapt. One evening, there was a knock on the door. Ven immediately dove under the bed. Daesung opened the door to find Hiram standing there. She was a medical officer at the colony, someone Daesung had worked with many times. She was holding a medical kit. "I know you have someone in there," Hiram said quietly. "I ran a resource check. Your water and food usage has doubled. Either you've suddenly become very hungry, or you're hiding someone." Daesung considered lying, but Hiram was too smart for that. He stepped aside and let her in. Hiram looked around the room. "Where is he?" "Under the bed," Daesung admitted. Hiram knelt down and looked under the bed. She saw Ven's yellow eyes staring back at her. "It's okay," she said softly. "I'm a doctor. I want to help you." Ven crawled out slowly. He looked at Daesung, who nodded. Ven stood up and Hiram gasped when she saw his scars. "What happened to you?" she asked. "My clan," Ven said simply. Hiram's face hardened. She opened her medical kit. "Sit down. Let me examine you." For the next hour, Hiram checked Ven's health. She scanned his bones, tested his blood, looked at his scars. When she was done, she looked angry. "He's been malnourished for months," she told Daesung. "Some of these injuries never healed properly. He has fractures that set wrong. His stress hormones are extremely high. This child has been living in constant fear and pain." "Can you help him?" Daesung asked. "I can treat the physical problems," Hiram said. "But the mental scars will take longer." She looked at Ven. "You're going to be okay. I promise." Ven didn't know what to say. Two humans were helping him now. It made no sense according to everything he had been taught. Hiram gave Ven some medicine and showed Daesung how to care for the worst injuries. Before she left, she pulled Daesung aside. "I heard rumors," she said quietly. "A Krauth clan leader named Dex has been asking questions at the spaceport. He's looking for an outcast. I think he's looking for Ven." Daesung felt cold. "How long do we have?" "I don't know. Maybe a few days. Maybe less." Hiram put her hand on his arm. "You need to be careful. The Krauth take their traditions very seriously. If Dex finds Ven here, there will be trouble." After Hiram left, Daesung sat down with Ven. He wanted to tell the young Krauth that everything would be okay, but he couldn't lie. Dex was coming. They both knew what that meant. "You should give me to them," Ven said quietly. "It would be easier for you." "No," Daesung said firmly. "That's not happening. Why?" Ven asked, frustrated. "You barely know me. Why risk so much for someone like me?" Daesung thought about how to explain it. "Do you know why I left the military?" Ven shook his head. "I was ordered to attack a village. My commander said there were enemy soldiers there. But when I arrived, I only saw families. Children like you. Old people who could barely walk. I refused to fire, and they punished you," Ven guessed. "Yes, they said I was weak, that I had failed my duty. They took away my rank and kicked me out." Daesung looked at Ven. "But those families lived. And I can sleep at night knowing I didn't kill innocent people. Sometimes doing the right thing costs you everything. But it's still the right thing." Ven was quiet for a long time. "My people would say you were a fool." "Maybe," Daesung agreed. "But I'd rather be a fool who saves lives than a hero who takes them." The next day, Daesung took Ven with him on his patrol. It was risky, but Ven needed to see how Daesung worked, how he handled conflicts. Ven wore a hood to hide his face and stayed close to Daesung's side. They didn't have to wait long for an incident. In the market district, a Vexian trader was shouting at a human merchant. The Vexian was large, with 4 arms and thick armor plating. He had a gun in one of his hands. "You cheated me," the Vexian roared. "The equipment you sold me broke after 1 day. I want my money back or I will take it from your corpse." The human merchant was backing away, terrified. Other people were running from the area. This was about to turn violent. Ven expected Daesung to draw his weapon. That's what any Krauth would do. Show strength. Establish dominance. Instead, Daesung walked forward with his hands raised and empty. "Hold on," Daesung said calmly. "Let's talk about this." "There is nothing to talk about," the Vexian shouted. "I was cheated." "Maybe," Daesung said. "Or maybe there was a mistake. But if you kill him, you'll never get your money back. You'll just end up in prison. Is that worth it?" The Vexian hesitated. His gun was still raised, but he was listening. "Tell me what happened," Daesung said. "Let's figure this out together." For the next 10 minutes, Daesung talked to both the Vexian and the merchant. He asked questions. He listened. He found out that the equipment had broken because the Vexian had used it wrong. The merchant had sold him a tool for mining soft minerals, but the Vexian had tried to use it on hard rock. It wasn't fraud. It was a misunderstanding. Daesung convinced the merchant to give the Vontrant that was a misunderstanding, Vexian, a partial refund, and show him how to use the tool correctly. The Vexian agreed. The situation ended with both sides shaking hands instead of someone dead on the ground. As they walked away, Ven was confused. "You could have just shot him. He had a weapon." "It would have been justified." "Justified doesn't mean right," Daesung said. "That Vexian wasn't evil. He was just angry because he thought he'd been cheated. Anger makes people do stupid things. But anger passes. Death is forever." "My people would say you let him threaten you without consequence," Ven argued. "That makes you look weak, does it?" Daesung asked. "Because now that Vexian respects me. If I had shot him, his family would hate me. His friends would want revenge. By talking, I made a friend instead of an enemy. Which one makes me stronger in the long run?" Ven didn't have an answer for that. That night, Daesung took Ven to a place he hadn't shown anyone in years. It was a wall in the old part of the colony, covered in names. Hundreds of names carved into the stone. "What is this?" Ven asked. "A memorial," Daesung said. "Every name here is someone who died in conflicts on this colony. Fights that got out of control. Feuds that turned bloody. Wars that started from small arguments." Daesung traced his fingers over several names. "These people died because I wasn't fast enough to stop the fighting. Because I couldn't make people see reason. Every name here is a reminder of my failures." He turned to Ven. "Anyone can pull a trigger. Anyone can swing a sword. Killing is easy. But saving lives? Stopping violence before it starts? That takes real strength. That takes patience and wisdom and courage. Because sometimes people will call you weak for choosing mercy. And you have to be strong enough to not care what they think." Ven looked at the wall of names. He thought about the enemy he had spared, the one who had begged for his life. At the time, Ven had thought he was being weak. But what if he had been strong? What if his clan had been wrong? The seed of doubt that Daesung had planted began to grow. The transport ship arrived at dawn. Ven felt it before he saw it, a cold dread settling in his stomach. He was in the market with Daesung when he noticed other Krauth in the crowd suddenly standing straighter, their eyes fixed on the spaceport. "He's here," Ven whispered. "Vex is here." Daesung followed Ven's gaze. At the spaceport entrance, a massive Krauth was walking down the ramp. He was bigger than any Krauth Daesung had ever seen, his scales marked with hundreds of battle scars. Each scar represented a victory, an honor earned through combat. Behind him came 5 more Krauth warriors, his hunting pack. Vex stopped in the middle of the market. His voice boomed across the square. "I am Vex, clan leader of the Red Claw. I come seeking the outcast called Ven. He has dishonored our people and must be cleansed. If anyone here shelters him, they dishonor themselves as well." The crowd went silent. Everyone knew what this meant. The Krauth had come to kill Ven, and they would not leave until the job was done. Daesung pulled Ven back into the shadows. "We need to get you somewhere safe." But Ven was shaking his head. "There is no safe place. Vex is the greatest hunter of our clan. He has never failed to find his prey. It's only a matter of time. Then we'll make sure we use that time wisely," Daesung said. They hurried back to Daesung's quarters. Once inside, They soon started packing supplies. Food, water, medical supplies. He was preparing to run. "What are you doing?" Van asked. "We're leaving the colony," Daesung said. "I have a ship. It's old and slow, but it'll get us far enough away that Dex can't follow." "No," Van said firmly. "I won't let you abandon your life for me. You have a job here. A home, friends. I am not worth losing all of that." Before Daesung could argue, there was a knock on the door. It wasn't gentle. It was demanding. Daesung opened it to find G1 standing there. She was the colony administrator, the person in charge of everything on Epsilon 7. Her face was troubled. "We need to talk," G1 said. "In my office, now." Daesung followed her, leaving Ven behind with strict instructions to stay hidden. G1's office was at the top of the administration building. Through the windows, you could see the entire colony spread out below. "Sit down," G1 said. She didn't sound angry, just tired. "I had a visit from Dex this morning. He made his intentions very clear. He's here to kill an outcast from his clan. He says it's a cultural matter that I shouldn't interfere with." "You can't let him murder someone in your colony," Daesung protested. "It's not that simple," G1 said. She pulled up a file on her computer screen. "The Krauth are protected by interspecies cultural rights laws. Those laws say that we can't interfere with their internal traditions, even if we don't agree with them. If I stop Dex from completing his hunt, it could cause a diplomatic incident. The Krauth might pull out of the mining operations. Without them, this colony would fail. So you're going to let him kill a child?" Daesung couldn't keep the anger out of his voice. "I didn't say that," G1 replied. "I'm saying my hands are tied officially. I can't give you protection or resources. If this turns violent, I'll have to follow protocol." She leaned forward. "But unofficially, I'm telling you that you have 48 hours before Dex is allowed to start his hunt. That's the standard waiting period for cultural matters. Use that time, however, you need to." Daesung understood. G1 was giving him a chance, the only one she could offer. "Thank you," he said. "Don't thank me yet," G1 said. "And Daesung? Be careful. Dex is dangerous. Don't underestimate him." Daesung left the office with his mind racing. 48 hours wasn't enough time to run far enough. And he knew Ven wouldn't run anyway. The young Krauth had too much guilt, too much shame. He would surrender himself rather than let others suffer for him. There was only one option left. Daesung had to confront Dex directly. He found the clan leader in one of the bars near the spaceport. Dex was sitting alone, drinking something that smoked and bubbled. His hunting pack waited outside. When Daesung approached, every Krauth in the bar turned to look at him. The air became tense. "I want to talk," Daesung said. Dex looked them up and down. "You are the human security officer. I have heard of you. They say you prefer words to weapons. A strange choice for one who claims to keep order. Words have prevented more deaths than weapons ever will," Daesung replied. Dex laughed. It was not a friendly sound. "Perhaps. But words cannot stop me from doing what I came here to do. The outcast must die. It is our way." "Why?" Daesung asked. "What does killing him accomplish?" "It removes weakness from our bloodline," Dex explained, like he was teaching a child. "Every generation, some of our young show mercy when they should show strength. If we allow them to live, their weakness spreads. Others begin to question our ways. Soon, our entire culture becomes soft. We become prey instead of predators. Or maybe," Daesung said carefully, "your culture is afraid of change. Afraid that mercy might actually be an evolution, not a weakness." Dex's eyes narrowed dangerously. "You speak of things you do not understand, human. The Krauth have survived for thousands of years because we are strong. Because we do not hesitate. Because we do what is necessary. Daesung took a deep breath. What he was about to do was risky, but it was the only way. I want to invoke the proving stand. The bar went completely silent. Every Krauth stopped moving. Dex stared at Daesung like he had grown a second head. You know of the proving stand? Dex asked slowly. I do, Daesung said. It's an ancient Krauth custom. If an outcast finds a protector strong enough to champion them, that protector can face the clan's hunters in combat. If the champion wins without killing anyone, the outcast goes free. Dex stood up. He towered over Daesung. The proving stand has not been invoked in 100 years. It exists for when an outcast has found a powerful protector, someone worthy of respect. You are just one human. I'm the protector Ven has, Daesung said firmly. And I'm invoking the custom. Do you accept or do you dishonor your own traditions? It was a clever trap. If Dex refused, he would look like a coward, someone who feared the old ways. But if he accepted, he would have to honor the results, even if Daesung won. Dex smiled, showing all his teeth. Very well. I accept. Tomorrow at dawn, you will face 3 of my hunters in the old warehouse district. The rules are simple. You must defeat all 3 without killing any of them. If you succeed, the outcast goes free. If you fail, or if you kill even one hunter, the outcast dies and you with him. Agreed. Daesung said. As Daesung turned to leave, Dex called out. Human, you are brave. I will give you that. But bravery without strength is just stupidity. You will die tomorrow, and your mercy will die with you. Daesung didn't respond. He just walked out of the bar, his heart pounding. When he returned to his quarters, Ven was waiting by the door. The young Krauth had been listening through the communication device Daesung had left with him. You fool, Ven said, his voice breaking. You just challenged the Dex to a proving stand. Do you know what that means? You have to fight 3 trained warriors without killing them. It's impossible. Nothing is impossible, Daesung said, though he wasn't sure he believed it himself. I'm not worth this, Ven said desperately. I'm just an outcast. Nobody. Why would you risk your life for nobody? Daesung put both hands on Ven's shoulders and looked him in the eyes. You are not nobody. You are someone who chose mercy when the whole world told you to choose violence. That makes you somebody very important. And tomorrow, I'm going to prove that mercy is stronger than violence. Watch and learn. That night, Hiram came to check on Daesung. She brought medical supplies and weapons. Non-lethal weapons, the kind that could hurt but not kill. You're insane, she told him. You know that, right? Probably, Daesung admitted. But what else can I do? You could run, Hiram suggested. Take Ven and disappear. And teach him that mercy means running away? Daesung shook his head. No. If I want him to believe that mercy is strength, I have to show him. I have to prove it. Hiram looked at him for a long moment. Then she hugged him. Don't die tomorrow. I'll do my best. Daesung promised Dot as the night wore on. Word of the proving stand spread through the colony. By dawn, everyone would know. A human was going to fight Krauth warriors to save an outcast. Some thought he was heroic. Most thought he was going to die. Daesung spent the night preparing. He checked his equipment. He planned his strategy. And he tried not to think about how many ways this could go wrong. All he could do was his best, and hope that his best was enough. Dawn came too quickly. Daesung stood at the entrance to the old warehouse district, checking his equipment one last time. He wore light armor that covered his vital areas, but allowed him to move freely. His weapons were all non-lethal. Shock batons that could stun, but not kill. Restraint cables that could bind, but not harm. A tactical shield that could deflect attacks. No guns, no blades. Nothing that could take a life. Around the warehouse, a crowd had gathered. Word had spread fast. Humans, Vexians, Krauth, and dozens of other species had come to watch. Some wanted to see a human prove himself against Krauth warriors. Others wanted to see him fail. Either way, it would be a story worth telling. Ven stood at the edge of the crowd with Hiram. The young Krauth looked sick with worry. Hiram kept a hand on his shoulder, holding him back. Ven had wanted to stop the fight, to surrender himself, but Daesung had made him promise to watch. To see what mercy looked like when it was tested, Dex stood at the center of the warehouse floor. Behind him were 3 Krauth warriors, each chosen for different skills. The first was lean and quick, built for speed. The second was heavily muscled, carrying a large weapon. The third was average in size, but moved with careful precision, a veteran who had seen many battles. "The human comes," Dex announced to the crowd. "He seeks to protect the outcast through the proving stand. The rules are ancient and clear. He must defeat 3 hunters without killing them. If he succeeds, the outcast goes free. If he fails, both die." Daesung walked onto the warehouse floor. His mouth was dry. His hands were steady. Fear was natural. What mattered was what you did with that fear. "I'm ready," he said. Dex nodded to his hunters. "Begin." The fast hunter moved first. He was on Daesung in seconds, claws slashing, tail whipping. Daesung barely got his shield up in time. The impact rang through his arm. This hunter was faster than any opponent Daesung had faced before. Daesung backed up, using the warehouse obstacles to his advantage. Old crates and machinery gave him places to dodge and hide. The hunter followed, relentless. Every time Daesung tried to counterattack, the hunter was already somewhere else. The crowd watched in silence. This didn't look like a fight. It looked like a hunt. Daesung's mind raced. He couldn't match the hunter's speed, but he could use the hunter's speed against him. Ziu soon led the hunter on a chase through the warehouse, making it look like he was running scared. The hunter grew bolder, more confident. He stopped being careful. That was the mistake Daesung was waiting for. When the hunter lunged again, Daesung didn't dodge. Instead, he threw his shield at the hunter's feet. The hunter tripped, his momentum sending him crashing into a stack of crates. Before the hunter could recover, Daesung was on him. The shock baton crackled with electricity. Daesung struck precisely, targeting nerve clusters. The hunter spasmed and went still, unconscious but alive. One down. The crowd murmured. Some were impressed. Others were skeptical. The first hunter had been young and overconfident. The next 2 would be harder. The heavy hunter stepped forward. He carried a massive club and wore thick armor. This one wouldn't fall for tricks. He would simply overpower Daesung with brute force. The hunter charged. Daesung tried to dodge, but the hunter was faster than he looked. The club caught Daesung in the side, sending him flying. Pain exploded through his ribs. At least 2 were cracked. Daesung rolled to his feet, gasping. The hunter was already swinging again. This time, Daesung blocked with his shield, but the impact drove him to his knees. The shield was starting to crack dot in the crowd. Ven couldn't watch. "He's going to die," the young Krauth whispered. "This is my fault." "Watch," Hiram said firmly. "He's not done yet." She was right. Daesung was hurt, but he wasn't beaten. He studied the heavy hunter, looking for weaknesses. The armor protected most of his body, but armor had joints. Places where it had to bend to allow movement. Those joints were vulnerable. Daesung stopped trying to block the club. Instead, he focused on dodging, staying just out of reach. The heavy hunter grew frustrated. He swung harder, faster, putting all his strength into each attack. And with each attack, he left himself open for just a moment. Daesung waited for his chance. When the hunter overextended on a massive swing, Daesung ducked under the club and struck at the hunter's knee joint with his baton. The electrical shock made the hunter's leg buckle. As the hunter fell, Daesung hit him again at the base of the skull, right where the armor didn't cover. The heavy hunter collapsed unconscious. 2 down. Daesung was breathing hard now. His ribs screamed with every breath. His equipment was damaged. He had 1 shock baton left, and it was running low on charge. And now he faced the veteran hunter, the most dangerous one. The veteran didn't rush in. He circled Daesung slowly, studying him, looking for weaknesses. This hunter had survived decades of combat. He knew every trick, every technique. He wouldn't make the mistakes the others had made. They faced each other in the center of the warehouse. The crowd held its breath. The veteran attacked with calculated precision. Every strike was efficient, wasting no energy. Every movement had purpose. Daesung found himself constantly defending, unable to create an opening. The veteran was too skilled, too experienced. A claw caught Daesung across the arm, tearing through his armor. Blood ran down to his hand. Another strike hit his damaged ribs, and Daesung couldn't stop the cry of pain. He was losing. He was going to die here. The veteran sensed victory. He pressed harder, driving Daesung back against the wall. There was nowhere left to run. The veteran raised his claws for a killing strike. Daesung's shot baton was in his hand. 1 strike to the throat, delivered with full power, would kill the veteran. It would be quick. It would be justified as self-defense. And it would save Daesung's life, but it would also mean Ven died. And more than that, it would prove Dex right. It would prove that when push came to shove, mercy was abandoned. That violence was always the answer in the end. Daesung dropped his weapon. The crowd gasped. The veteran hesitated, confused. Why would his opponent surrender his only advantage? "You're a skilled warrior," Daesung said, his voice strained with pain. "You've proven your strength. You've won your honor. But you don't need to kill me to prove it. I respect your skill. I respect your courage. Can you respect mine?" The veteran stared at him. In all his years of fighting, no one had ever done this. Enemies fought until death. They didn't speak of respect. They didn't acknowledge each other as equals. The moment of confusion was all Daesung needed. He moved faster than he had all fight, his hands finding the veteran's pressure points. Years ago, Daesung had studied hand-to-hand combat from a master. Not to kill, but to control. To subdue without harm. It was a technique that required perfect timing and placement. Daesung's hands found the nerve clusters on the veteran's neck. He applied pressure in a specific sequence. The veteran's eyes widened. His body locked up. Then his eyes rolled back, and he collapsed. 3 down. Silence filled the warehouse. Then someone in the crowd started clapping. Others joined in. Soon, the entire crowd was cheering. They had witnessed something none of them expected. A human defeating 3 Krauth warriors without killing any of them. Daesung collapsed to his knees, exhausted and in pain. Hiram rushed onto the warehouse floor with her medical kit. She started treating his wounds immediately. Dex walked over to the 3 unconscious hunters. He checked each one carefully. All 3 were alive. All 3 would recover fully. The human had honored the rules of the proving stand. The clan leader approached Daesung. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then he placed his clawed hand over his chest in a Krauth gesture of acknowledgement. "You have met the challenge," Dex said. His voice carried across the warehouse. "The proving stand is complete. The human has won." But Dex wasn't finished. He turned to address the crowd. "However," he continued, "the human has proven only that he is clever and stubborn. He has not proven that mercy is strength. He has proven only that he can avoid killing when given special rules to protect him. In real life, there are no such rules. In real life, mercy gets you killed. The outcast goes free, as the custom demands. But the lesson here is wrong. True strength still comes from the will to do what is necessary, including killing when honor demands it. Daesung wanted to argue, but he was too injured, too exhausted. He had won the fight, but had he won the argument? Had he proven anything? Then Ven pushed through the crowd. The young Krauth walked onto the warehouse floor, his head held high despite his fear. He stood before Vex, and when he spoke, his voice carried to every corner of the warehouse. Ven stood before Vex, his body trembling but his voice steady. Every eye in the warehouse was on him. The young outcast who had been hiding for weeks was now standing in the open, facing the most feared hunter of his clan. "You say mercy is weakness," Ven began, speaking in the Krauth language so all his people would understand. "You say Daesung proved nothing. But I was there. I was in the trial where I was supposed to kill my defeated enemy. Do you want to know what really happened?" Vex said nothing, but his eyes were locked on Ven. "My enemy was beaten," Ven continued. "He lay on the ground, bleeding. He could not fight anymore. He begged for his life. He told me he had younglings waiting for him at home. He told me his mate was pregnant with another child. He said if I killed him, I would make orphans." Ven's voice grew stronger. "In that moment, I had a choice. I could kill him and win honor, or I could let him live and face shame. I thought about our teachings, about how strength comes from taking life. But when I looked at him, I didn't see an enemy anymore. I saw someone like my father, someone who wanted to go home to his family." The crowd was completely silent now. Even the humans and other aliens were listening carefully, understanding the importance of this moment. "So I let him live," Ven said. "I put down my weapon and walked away. And my clan called me weak. They cast me out. They sent hunters to kill me. For months, I believed them. I believed I was weak. I believed I deserved to die." Ven turned to look at Daesung, who was being bandaged by Hiram. "But then I met a human who showed me something different. He showed me that anyone can kill. Any fool can pull a trigger or swing a blade. That's easy. What's hard is having the power to kill and choosing not to. What's hard is facing someone who hates you and trying to understand them instead of destroying them." He turned back to Vex. "I watched Daesung fight today. 3 times he could have killed your hunters. 3 times it would have been easier to end their lives than to spare them. But he didn't. Not because he was weak. Not because he was afraid. But because he values life. Because he believes that preserving life requires more strength than taking it." Ven's voice rose with passion now. "And I finally understand what I felt in my trial. That enemy I spared? He wasn't a threat anymore. Killing him would have served no purpose except to satisfy our bloodlust. We call it honor, but it's just violence. We say it makes us strong, but it just makes us feared. And fear is not the same as respect." Several Krauth in the crowd shifted uncomfortably. Ven was speaking heresy, challenging the core beliefs of their entire culture. But he wasn't finished. "I was cast out because I showed mercy," Ven said. "But I don't want to come back. I don't want to be part of a clan that mistakes cruelty for strength. I am asking you, Vex, to formally release me from all clan bonds. Not as punishment, but as my choice. I choose exile. One choose a different path." The warehouse erupted in shocked murmuring. A Krauth choosing exile was unheard of. Outcasts were driven away. They didn't leave willingly. They certainly didn't declare it with pride. Vex stared at Ven for a long moment. His expression was unreadable. Finally, he spoke. "You wish to abandon your people? To reject everything we are?" "No," Ven said. I reject killing for the sake of killing. I reject valuing death over life. But I don't reject my people. I hope that one day they might see what I see now. That real strength isn't about how many you can kill. It's about how many you can save. Dex looked at Daesung, then back at Ven. He seemed to be struggling with something, some internal conflict. Finally, he spoke again. I have been clan leader for 30 years, Dex said slowly. I have led hundreds of hunts. I have killed more enemies than I can count. I have earned every scar on my body through combat. And until today, I never doubted our ways. He paused. But I watched this human fight. I watched him face 3 of my best hunters with weapons that could not kill. And he won. Not through trickery. Not through luck. But through skill and determination, and something I never valued before: restraint. Dex walked over to his 3 unconscious hunters. In a real battle, all 3 would be dead. The human had opportunities to kill each one. I saw them. Any Krauth warrior would have taken those opportunities without thought. But he didn't. He chose the harder path every time. The clan leader turned to face the crowd. I cannot accept the human's philosophy. I cannot say that mercy is always right, or that killing is always wrong. Our culture has survived for thousands of years through strength. But perhaps, he hesitated, perhaps there are different kinds of strength. Perhaps the strength to choose is as important as the strength to fight. Dex placed his hand over his chest again, this time facing Ven. I release you from all clan bonds, outcast. You are formally dead to the Red Claw. Your name will be struck from our records. You may go where you wish, and no Krauth of my clan will hunt you. It was done. Ven was free. The Dex had one more thing to say. Know this, young one. I do not agree with your choice. I still believe our ways are correct. But you spoke your truth with courage, and that deserves acknowledgement. Perhaps you are not as weak as we thought. With that, Dex gathered his hunters and left the warehouse. The crowd began to disperse, talking excitedly about what they had witnessed. Hiram finished bandaging Daesung. You need to go to the medical center, she said. Those ribs need proper treatment. In a minute, Daesung replied. He looked at Ven, who stood alone in the center of the warehouse floor. The young Krauth looked lost, like he wasn't sure what to do now that his ordeal was over. Daesung walked over to him, wincing with each step. You did well, he said. I don't know what to do now, Ven admitted. I have no clan, no home, no purpose. You have a home, Daesung said. With me, for as long as you want it. And as for purpose, I think you just found it. You spoke truth to your people. You challenged ideas that have existed for thousands of years. That takes courage. It doesn't feel like courage, Ven said quietly. It feels like I've lost everything. No, Daesung replied. You've lost what was holding you back. Now you're free to become something new. Something better. The weeks that followed brought changes no one expected. Word of the proving stand spread throughout the colony and beyond. Daesung received messages from other colonies, from other species, all curious about the human who had defeated Krauth, warriors without killing them. But the most surprising change came from the Krauth themselves. 2 weeks after Dex left, another young Krauth arrived at the colony. Then another. Both were outcasts from different clans, cast out for showing mercy. They had heard about Ven and Daesung. They wanted to learn about this different kind of strength. G1 authorized the creation of a small sanctuary program. It wasn't official, and it wasn't publicized, but it existed. A place where Krauth who questioned their culture's ways could come and be safe. Daesung and Hiram supervised it, with Ven helping as a guide and mentor to the newcomers. Ven proved to be a natural teacher. He understood what the other outcasts were going through because he had lived it. He helped them see that mercy wasn't weakness, that choosing not to kill didn't make them failures. That real strength came from within, from the courage to be different, even when the whole world said you were wrong. One evening, Daesung was called to mediate a dispute between two colonists. A human miner and a Vexian trader were about to come to blows over a contract disagreement. Daesung arrived to find Ven already there, standing between them. "Stop," Ven was saying. "Fighting won't solve this. It will only make it worse. Let's talk about what happened and find a solution that works for both of you." The human and the Vexian were both surprised to be lectured by a young Krauth. But something in Ven's manner made them listen. He didn't threaten. He didn't judge. He just helped them communicate. By the time Daesung reached them, Ven had already resolved the dispute. Both the human and the Vexian were shaking hands, their anger forgotten. Daesung watched with pride. This was what he had hoped for. Not just to save one life, but to change one mind. And that one changed mind was now changing others. "You did well," Daesung told Ven later. "You're a natural peacekeeper." Ven looked thoughtful. "I never thought this could be my purpose. In my clan, the only purpose was to be a warrior, to fight and kill and earn honor through battle. But this feels right. Helping people understand each other, stopping violence before it starts. This feels like what I'm meant to do." "Then do it," Daesung said simply. "Make it your path." Months passed. The sanctuary program grew slowly but steadily. Not many Krauth came, but those who did were changed by the experience. They learned that their culture's way wasn't the only way. That mercy could be strength. That preservation was as valuable as destruction. Daesung's ribs healed, though they ached on cold days. He bore the pain gladly. It was a reminder of what he had proven. That non-lethal victory was possible. That you could stand up for your beliefs without compromising them, even under pressure. One day, Daesung stood at the memorial wall again, the one covered with names of those who had died in violence. Ven stood beside him. "When I first brought you here," Daesung said, "I told you about my failures. All the people I couldn't save. All the violence I couldn't stop." "I remember," Ven said. "I want you to understand something," Daesung continued. "Every name,